Hey, what's up everybody? Chad Calek here, and welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast, where we are going to talk about some absolutely mind-blowing footage that was just captured from on board the International Space Station. And we will also get into what I think is a very curious amount of events that seem to be working in unison in a way to lay out what could be the second half of Skyfall's prediction, which I think a lot of people actually sleep on because his prediction about the Third World War was so damn unnerving. But before we talk about all of those things, I want to thank you all for your kind words and your prayers and your emails and your messages and your comments about the last episode. If you listened, as you heard at the end of the episode while I was recording, I received two different texts giving me some of the details about my cousin who unfortunately committed suicide. She was a mother of 10, and because of that, and because it's so fresh, I'm not going to speak about the details right now. I think when it becomes okay and the family's okay with me speaking about it, then I would like to, because this was a really amazing person, and this stuff is so incredibly shocking and painful, and I'm sure I am not going through the same level of suffering that her children are, or my cousin, her husband, and just the entire family. But my heart is with them, and should there come an appropriate time to talk about it and share what occurred, if they're comfortable with it, then I will. But I wanted to thank all of you once again. What's going on back there has been going on for a long time. I mean, all of these untimely suicides and deaths, and it is truly, truly tragic. That's all I could say about it right now. Also, just a few other quick updates. As I mentioned a while ago, we are currently rebuilding our entire website, which I'm really excited about. It took me a while to kind of put my finger on the creative direction that I wanted to go with it, because I really wanted to kind of tie into a lot of other things we'll be doing this year. And I came up with this kind of Deadwoodish idea, like the series Deadwood. And I actually, yesterday, did the first, I guess you can call it an official photo shoot for new photos of myself, and new different pictures for the design for the website. If you look at the screen right now, I'll share a couple of those photos with you. This is the version of me that you guys saw how bad I looked in that one photo when I was hospitalized. And hospitalized, I always struggle with that word. But this is me today, so I am feeling much healthier. As I mentioned, the last time I put on about 25 pounds, thank God, because I really needed it. I just, like I said, I was so damn depleted that I couldn't stand up, couldn't sit up when this started. So I'm feeling a lot better. Things continue to go well. I'm now physically done with going to places to do any of the physical therapy. All the physical therapy that I have left, I can do on my own, which is awesome. So with that being the case, the stronger I get, the more hours I'm able to put into, the creative work, editing Harbingers and working away on that, but also working on the website. Now, I think the new website will be up, I want to say tentatively, in a couple weeks. We have the base functionality of it together, and it's going to be much simpler than the last site, much more direct and easy, and a lot of goodies, a lot of freebies. I'm really excited about it. So keep your eyes open for a new aghtelevision.com site coming out in a couple weeks. And I am also very excited to let you guys know that I came across something that I could not believe that I still had in my possession. What am I talking about? When I moved from my old home into my new home where I currently live, this was years ago, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, because I was on tour when we had to move, and Laura was working at that time, I ended up hiring movers. It was the first time I'd ever hired movers. They absolutely blew me away with how quick they were, and everything was going great. But when we got over here and I unboxed everything, I noticed that either two hard drives of mine were either stolen or misplaced. I don't know. To this day, I don't know for sure. We had a couple other items that magically disappeared as well, which initially I was like, well, it's the last time I hire movers because, I don't want to deal with that ever again. But as I was working on Harbingers and researching and going through some of my older hard drives, I came across an old bank of music that I did not think I still had. When I was on tour at that time period, I had a 23 song, 2-album, double disc of original music that I had written and recorded, and I was in the mixing stages. And this was initially going to be a full release that I was going to put out. And I could not find that hard drive. So I thought at that time that I had lost all of it. Now, since then, there are some select songs that I've re-recorded. One of them being Yesterday. But the new version does not include Laura singing on it with me, which she did on the older version, this version that I thought was lost. But there's a number of songs, and I absolutely loved this record. Like I said, 23 new songs. They are all still on a safety bank that I had, and some of them are mixed, some of them are partially mixed, some of them are just very, just raw, just recorded the basics. But I'm absolutely going to release, a new In a Crowded Room record. When? I don't know, sometime within the next month or two. But a lot of that music is also going to appear in Harbingers now that I have it. And yeah, it was just incredible to sit down and listen to these songs, which this album is so incredibly personal. And there were so many things I was going through at that time. So it was mind-blowing to go through it all. And I love the music on these recordings, which I literally just discovered this like 2-3 days ago. And so yeah, I'm super excited about it. I will let you know when, the actual time period will be when I want to do this. Because the last thing I need right now is a whole other massive project on top of everything that I'm already doing. But there will be a new full-length In a Crowded Room record. I think what I'm going to do is just take the best, 15 songs or 12 songs out of this group of 23 songs and just release those on a single album, kind of pare it down. And in the meantime, the songs that wouldn't be on the record, I'll just release them and put them out there for you guys. For those of you that have listened to the music that I've been releasing lately and have left comments, again, thank you. It's a blast hearing from you guys and knowing that you're enjoying the music. Super excited about that. All right, let's get into it, guys. I was just having a conversation with Laura about, oh, by the way, about Craig. That's what I was fixing to tell you. I've got your guys' messages. I know you all want to hear from Craig and hear how he's doing, get an update. I do too. I have not spoken to Craig directly in some time. I owe Craig a phone call for sure. So yeah, I will do that. I will reach out to him and see how he's doing and see if he wants to hop on another podcast again. So hang tight. But yes, I hear you guys loud and clear. So as I was saying, I was talking with Laura just about how bizarre it was that, I've spent years investigating ghosts and spirits and that side of the paranormal. And I never had anything weird happen in regards to, like I said, people following me or listening to my phone calls or my computer being locked up or weird things happening. Never had any issues with that at all. I've investigated cryptids and everything from, 3 different versions of Bigfoot. I've been out on some Bigfoot hunts and never, like you guys know, I never got any results. Um, we did have incredible results on the Jersey Devil case, which I didn't film that, Ryan did, but I was fascinated with that evidence. But through that entire time, never had any weird stuff go on. But the first time, we get involved in taking a look at the NOFACE footage and saying, okay, let's take everybody's advice and let's reopen this case and basically reinvestigate it, looking down the barrel of a lens that's focused on the UFOs, right? And we were talking about just how it almost seemed instantly, it was just right away, it just seemed like things started going just insane. And the amount of things that were bizarre, which is well documented, and you guys have seen in Two-Face the Gray and a Phantom Rider, all the bizarre stuff that I dealt with and the bizarre stuff that Craig dealt with. And, it's still going on, by the way. Nothing at the level that it was, but I still have weird events happen all the time, especially in relation to my computer, that just make no sense to me. And things that shouldn't be happening, like even when I got out of my hospitalization, while I was in there, somebody cracked my, my Twitter profile, and they gained access to it. And I can look and see on the date that they gained access to it. I got the email saying, someone is using, your profile. They signed in from a different place. If this wasn't you, then, sign in and change the password. Well, at the time I was, like I said, in a hospital, so I didn't even know. I didn't read it at the time. But once they gained access to it, they didn't post anything as far as, trying to make you look stupid or sending out erroneous posts. They just shut my account down, which I can't get that back, which is crazy. So, by the way, if you're on Twitter, there's a new Twitter I have. It's just at Chad Calek. But yeah, that was like 30,000 people that followed me on Twitter that it was just, completely erased by somebody. And it was like, who would do that? Like, why? Like, why is that happening? You know what I mean? Now, I'm not directly pointing at, Sir No Face and saying, oh, it happened because of this. But, having so many weird things happen. And, Craig documented a lot of the stuff that was happening to him, too. I have the footage of my computer in real time, live, being hacked, being taken over and hacked in real time, and them taking a screenshot of their own work, which blows my mind. I have this footage.
Laura, look at my computer. What the fuck is that?
Where?
You saw those red lines?
Oh, I didn't know it wasn't supposed to be like that. I don't know your program.
Up here. Holy shit.
What is that?
I don't know. I don't know. What the fuck? This shit is operating on its own right now. Again. What the fuck?
Before all that started.
I know. It's every fucking time I get deep into this fucking shit happens.
Craig took pictures of dudes outside his house wearing crazy outfits and a glowing head mask and all this stuff. Like, the stuff that was going on was just incredible. And then when I started digging into, how many people have wound up going down this road and having similar things happen, of being followed, and weird things happen with their bank accounts, and the list just goes on and on and on. So I was talking to Laura about how certain I am that something very real is going on in regards to this UFO stuff. And I mentioned in my previous podcast, I said to you guys, something has to be coming soon. Because if you look at the nature of events that have, been laid out, they're all pointing to a point of no return, where you either have to put up or shut up, which I think we're there, right? If you look at just how it all happened, it starts with Tom DeLonge and this crazy story of this rock and roll guy and this, company that he's starting with these, big ex-military guys and ex-FBI and CIA and DOD and all these fringe scientists, Hal Puthoff and all these guys. And, initially it's like, ha ha ha, it's a joke, Tom's crazy. And it just kept building and building, and new names kept coming out. And, eventually, this New York Times story comes out, and more footage comes out. Now we got the pilots talking about it. And this, comes to different congressmen are now saying, yeah, I'm interested in it. Yeah, it's freaky. And, Jeremy Corbell seems to be, releasing footage on a perfect schedule for what a soft release, a soft disclosure, what it would look like if you timed it all out, right? That's what's happened. And most recently, we had this David Grush, character step forward. And, so Grush comes out and says, yes, there's bodies here, there's aliens here, Roswell was real, all this stuff's real, and there's ships that he, most interestingly to me, out of the blue without being provoked, he talked about a massive football-sized UFO. Do you guys remember this? It was just very odd that he said that, unprovoked. Unprovoked, he said that there are some massive, crafts that have gone down, some of them bigger than a football field. That's what he said. And when he said it, I remember thinking, that's odd. Why is he just pointing that out? Yes, it's interesting, but all of it's interesting. Everything he's talking about is interesting. So why would he say that? Well, I just, I didn't think about it beyond that, asking myself the question, why would he say this? I just kind of stored it away in the old memory banks. And, then we started hearing, well, he's got to get a skiff. Because unless Grush, can get in there, then this is over, right? There's nowhere to go from here. So we hear they got a skiff. Oh my God, they got a skiff. Well, by now we've probably all seen the, viral footage of Tim Burchett basically saying, yeah, jack shit. That's what we heard. They got into a room with Grush in which all these generals and everybody kind of freak out and say, hey, I don't know what Grush is talking about because he doesn't have security clearance anymore and he can't speak about these things. So once again, we're at that point where it's like, well, then it's over unless something changes. And then I hear last week that in lightning speed, Congress has already passed a new law that would allow Grush, given his specific set of circumstances, to regain his top secret security clearance so that he's able to speak about these things that he outlined in the information that he gave to the Inspector General. And I'm sitting there thinking, when is the last time that happened? Congress needed something to get done and they're able to just run it through, and within like a week, there's just a new law that now exists. I mean, like, that never happens, man. On the most basic things, even when both sides agree, things take... I mean, if a bill or a law, a new law, took 6 months to pass and be introduced as law, I mean, that would be incredibly fast. I'd be like, man, they're killing it, you know? This is weeks. There's already a new bill that protects them. This has been weeks. And that conversation is supposed to happen tomorrow, in which several congressmen will be on hand, Burchett being one of them. And supposedly, they could have this information as soon as tomorrow. My guess is there's going to be something else that'll hold it up, and they're going to eventually get there, because I feel like right now things are being... It's like chess pieces, right? It's like you got to line everything up right to get ready to make your run, right? Like, everything's got to be lined up just right to pull this off. And that's if we are all going to accept that, Wernher von Braun was not bullshitting on his deathbed when he said, beware for the fake alien invasion. Now, as you all know, this is also what Daniel David Skyfall said is coming. But I would like to point out, a lot of people miss this because the first half of the prediction is just stunning. The idea that World War III would break out. And the media, by the way, I've seen several places now, and maybe you guys have seen this as well, where they're beginning to refer to the Middle Eastern conflict right now as World War III or the beginnings of World War III. I've heard this now on several news stations, guys. And that is what, Skyfall said it would be referred to as. He didn't say right away that it would be referred to as that, but he said that it eventually would be referred to as that. But the second half of his prediction is, he said first there would be a fake alien invasion. But he said this would be followed up with a real alien invasion. Remember, that's the whole point of him saying this is going on. That the government wants everybody to basically come together and support this one, governing body, and, to disregard our, state, local, and federal conflict, and focus on, the brotherhood of being a human, right? Humanity. And fight these aliens. So the idea would be, use the false flag, fake alien invasion to get everybody together and ready to go. And then when the actual invasion occurs, then the world supports going to war, believing that if we don't, we're going to die from this threat. Well, then you got to stop and you got to ask yourself and go, well, wait a minute. I mean, how would the planet ever act if there was some kind of threat that it didn't matter, what country you were in, it didn't matter what language you spoke, if there was something out here that could wipe out everybody? I mean, how would America, or how would the world react? Well, we just kind of saw how the world would react in regards to COVID, right? The majority of the world did exactly what they were told. As crazy as it was to say, don't go see friends, don't work, don't pay your bills, don't do anything, hide in your house. Oh, by the way, wear a mask. You gotta wear a mask wherever you go. And it's like, well, guys, is that how it would end? That as humanity, in our final moments, we all just died hiding behind a mask in our house? I mean, it was crazy, right? But yet, man, if you look at it like a test, it was a test that proved that when there is, an enemy that we could all agree upon is an enemy, that the world could operate in unison under the leadership of one person. because a lot of the country actually took, whatever Trump said to do, or Biden for that matter. The rest of the world, and a lot of places followed. A lot of places didn't. Russia, Sweden. I mean, they pretty much both said, "Fuck all this. We're not doing this shit with the masks and all this stuff." And now we look back at how that was all handled, and it was horrific. But it happened, and it tested us. So the conversation that I had with Laura, as I said, well, listen, all of this has happened, and it's all been laid out perfectly. I said, specifically in regard to the NOFACE footage, and I was also speaking to her about how happy I was that, Craig's work has stood up to the test of time. NOFACE is legitimate. It is an entity that is not human, that is on film. And I've yet to hear anybody put up an actual explanation for that footage. I mean, I've heard people say, "Oh, I just don't believe it." Well, there's always going to be skeptics in the world that are blanket skeptics, meaning that no matter what you say or show them, they're going to say, "Nope, I don't believe it. I don't believe it." But that isn't enough, right, to discredit something. You have to be able to show how it was done and have an explanation that makes sense, and that has not happened. NOFACE has become a cult classic documentary already in this field for that reason. Because that footage that Craig and his team captured, doing an incredible job of an investigation, it exists. It is real, and it cannot be disproven. It cannot. Even though we cannot prove what it is, we could also prove what it's not. We can prove it's not human, right? And that's where it came, this whole, well, we think it's an alien, right? And we heard this from the public nonstop. And it was something that, was certainly, rattling around our brain, even though I was the last to come to the table as far as, okay, let's go take a look at it from that angle. But what NOFACE did is it opened up the possibility that, as Dr. Greer stated, perhaps our government is in fact making these little gray alien creatures. Remember, Greer says they're rolling them off like sausages off the conveyor belt. That just sounds crazy to me, but it sounds less crazy when I actually look at the footage itself and I say, I know for a fact that's not a human being. I know that. Quick rundown of the whole thing. The footage of NOFACE, almost 5 hours the camera ran before, NOFACE stepped around the corner so we could see him. Almost 5 hours. So somebody would have to be in that building for 5 hours. Oh, by the way, they'd have to not make a sound for 5 hours, which is impossible because during the recreation video that Craig did to try to see, what this could possibly be, you can't walk anywhere in that place without it making crazy noise from the wooden floors that are, being condemned because they're just falling apart. That building was so old. So no sound, they have to be in there for that many hours. There's only one way you can get to where NOFACE appeared, and you have to walk in front of the camera. And then once the size was discovered, that's what, beyond any shadow of a doubt, pushed it home, because nobody left their child. If that was a child, an under 4 foot child, no one left, snuck out to an island, locked their kid, in a building, had him hide till everybody left, and somehow would have to figure out how to make no sound, walk over and for 5 hours, stand in one place. It's like there's no way. There's no way. And then you back it up with all the other footage that was captured, the light flashes, all that stuff. It just becomes apparent that the NOFACE footage is absolutely legitimate, which I discovered this after trying to disprove it for 2 years, and Craig knew it from the jump, right? So it's something. So does it now sound insane that, it could have been an alien gray that was made? man-made, creature, basically. Well, you would, again, to sell a fake alien invasion, it wouldn't be enough to have lights in the sky or like holograms. I mean, you would have to have something physical that people can see. And that's where, the potential of Sir NoFace being a manufactured and created mechanical gray, it becomes a possibility, even though it's absolutely insane. But I'm getting to a point here. I promise you, all of this is coming to the point that we're at right now, which is if there is going to be a fake alien invasion soon, which there would have to be soon because they're just out of real estate with this alien story. It's put up or shut up time, right? Like that's what has to happen. No one even cares anymore about the new news that comes out because everyone's like, show me the bodies, show me the flying saucers, show me all of it. Well, knowing that, if they were staging things right now for a fake alien invasion, that would mean, if this is all correct and real, as Skyfall predicted, that would mean that the real alien invasion will be coming right after the fake one. Now, if that were the case, wouldn't we see signs of it? If there were actually ships coming here, or ships that were going to appear here, I guess, or if we were going to fight some war in the sky, or shouldn't there be something that appears? Something that we see in the sky, something to tell us that there are in fact aliens that are coming, and we need to get prepared for what that means. Well, the footage I'm about to show you right now seems to suggest that there are in fact large ships that are already orbiting the Earth, or they're either arriving or they're already here. Check this out. This is footage that was captured from the International Space Station. There's a paranormal investigator called Mr. MBB333 that focuses specifically on UFOs and natural weather phenomena. Has a great site. He puts out these really kind of concise but short videos that just kind of updates the world on what's going on with the weather in the world, but also what's going on with the UFO narrative. He commented on both of the pieces of footage that I'm going to show you here. So I'm just going to let this play and you can hear his voice. The first video happened a couple days ago, which you're going to see what appears to be two large ships, craft, that are, again, up in orbit and seen from the International Space Station. Check this out.
I want to take you guys now up to the International Space Station. This video was shared by Nelson Jinks from November 12th of 2023 during the overnight hours. This occurred around 5:41 in the morning. You're going to see an object here, and over here. The two objects in the front are very obvious. The one in the back isn't quite as obvious. This is at original speed. You're going to see this object over here enter the field of view. You're going to see one over here enter the field of view. They look like massive crafts in the sky above planet Earth on the dark side of the Earth. See this one starting to show up? This one over here is starting to show up. I'm going to zoom in on this one. You're going to see detail. You're going to see a structure. You're going to see lights on top of this thing. It's truly remarkable footage from the International Space Station. And I also put it in fast forward for presentation purposes, and you can see it clearly moving through the sky, not only this one, but this one over here. And as you can see, it's moving a little faster. I do have it in fast forward, again, for presentation purposes, so you can see these things. And you're going to see another one enter the field of view right back here following the bright one. See it? Showing up right there. There were three that showed up in the field of view. Now we're going to zoom in very close, and you're going to see a huge craft with lights, the one over here on the right. And here it comes. You can see lights on top, quite possibly on the bottom. It looks very wide. This thing was incredibly large, and it was a pretty good ways away from the International Space Station and still looked very large. It flew in the vicinity of the space station and then went on out of the field of view. This is the one over here on the left. It wasn't quite as visible as the one on the right, but it too was a good size object. And here's another close-up view of the one on the right that, again, had lights around it. It looks very wide. And in this segment here, I zoomed in on the one in the front, and you're going to see the one in the back also start to enter the field of view. It becomes a little bit more visible right there as it gets closer to the space station, and it was flying at a slight angle. And in this segment here, I modified a few versions of the original video just for presentation purposes, trying to pull forward any possible features. And in some of these modifications, you can see more features, and it does appear to be quite large, whatever it may have been. That looks like a large craft, a unidentified flying craft, flying above the dark side of the Earth on November 12th of 2023. Check that out. That's definitely a craft, something of intelligent origins. That thing is not just some random light or a fireball, meteor. It's not any type of comet dust. You can tell that this thing has a propulsion system. It's moving at the same speed through the sky. It has symmetrical features to it. It appears to have a light on top of it. Looks like a huge craft flying above the Earth, visible on November 12th, spotted by Nelson Jinx, who observes the International Space Station live cam quite frequently, and he's always seeing things that are unidentifiable or mysterious. This one here is probably one of the most obvious I think I've seen in quite some time. This definitely looks like some sort of a craft moving through the sky. There were two more that look almost identical to this one here. This one here just happened to be the most visible. This is another format that I used, again, trying to pull forward any possible features. And you can see, once again, a large, very wide, what looks like a huge craft flying above the Earth on November 12th of 2023.
Okay, that's blocky footage. I realize the compression sucks. But what you can see is that up in orbit, there's something big that is moving around, either adjacent or just below the International Space Station. Now remember, back to Grush, he said, and he pointed out that there was a UFO that supposedly we had access to that was as big as a football field, right? Which sounds crazy. Well, in this footage, and again, I'm going to let Mr. MBB333 kind of walk us through it here. But in this footage, you will see something massive. And this is undeniable. This footage, undeniable in the sense that something huge seems to appear right next to the International Space Station, where once again, they filmed this. But what's crazy about this is this massive green blinking light that's on board that clearly separates it from being just like, I don't know, some kind of illusion or space junk or whatever. This is a craft. And it appears to be a triangle-shaped craft, which we've seen all those. Check this footage out. And once again, this is Mr. MBB333. Check it out.
Going up to the International Space Station, you guys are going to see a huge ship enter the field of view. You're actually going to see two. One that's big and then one that's exceptionally big with green blinking lights. No joke. You cannot make this stuff up. Here we go. You're going to see an object enter the field of view up here at the top of the screen. It's a large ship itself, and you can see it's got a shape similar to that of a triangle. Watch up here at the top. You're going to be able to see the outline of what looks like a ship enter the field of view from right to left. And you see some activity already here in the center, but to be honest, it was unidentifiable. I don't know what we've got going on here, but what's coming up is identifiable. At least it looks similar to a intelligently designed craft. No joke. Watch up here at the top. You're going to see what looks like a intelligently designed craft. And coming up right here, I insert a diagram that outlines the shape of this craft that you're about to see enter the field of view, once again, traveling from right to left. Here we go. See it? It's a little difficult to see in this format, but I'm going to show you guys the object again in another format. Here comes the large structure here. You can see a green blinking light at the bottom of the screen. Here's the outline of the craft that you're about to see enter the field of view, probably a mile-wide mothership. Enter the field of view from the International Space Station. We saw three the other day, a couple of days ago, from the space station, and they were traveling in this direction. These are traveling across the screen from right to left. And again, this is absolutely incredible video footage of a large ship cruising through the skies of Earth. Actually, two ships Possibly more. These are just the ones that showed up in the field of view. I zoomed in on the green blinking light at the bottom of the screen. There were multiple green blinking lights. Here comes the first one and the most obvious one. I mean, seriously, that's part of a craft. It's a craft itself. Maybe it's part of the large craft that we just saw. You're going to be able to see it better when I enhance the video format. There's no mistaking it. It is a huge triangle craft that entered the field of view, and it's got green lights on it. There's one. There's no mistaking that. And that's not on the ground. That's in the sky, orbiting the Earth. A part of either a large craft or quite possibly a independent craft of its own. But that is a mysterious blinking light. You don't see that very often on here, if ever at all. Not something like that. A green blinking light in the field of view of the International Space Station going in the opposite direction. The space station is traveling from left to right. Here's an outline of the first craft that we saw at the top of the screen. I zoomed in a little closer. I made some modifications so that it pulled forward the object and made it a little easier to see. I understand it's difficult to see, but it is definitely there. Right here it comes. See it? And there it goes. A triangle shaped, it looks similar to a triangle anyway, moving across the screen. It looked like it was just ahead of the large mile-wide craft, at least a mile wide. I mean, this thing was huge. You can see it a little better in this format here. I modified the format. There goes the triangle at the top. Let's say that's a scout ship, and here comes the big mothership right in the middle of the field of view. You can see the blinking light down there. That's the green blinking light that we looked at up close, and you're going to see 3 points of reference right here, up here, and back here. To me, that represent a much larger craft that's slowly moving across the field of view. There's the one in the front, there's the one in the back, and here's the one at the top. See the big triangle? Looks like a huge mothership entering the field of view, orbiting the Earth, and this thing has been orbiting the Earth for at least a couple of days. We saw 3 of these things a couple of days ago from a much farther point of view. This one here looked much closer to the International Space Station.
What in the hell is this? I could tell you from looking at this footage and studying it, this is not fake. This is not fake. Plus, it came on a live broadcast. Okay, this is not fake footage. Something massive, massive is hanging out, above us with the International Space Station. So, is that what's going on right now? Are there things arriving? Does our government know a date in which they expect these things to arrive, extraterrestrials? Do they know that? Do they know when they're coming? Is that why this has all been this steady build up to this amount of information? Is that what's going on? Because remember, Skyfall says fake alien invasion first, then real alien invasion, in which he said the real alien invasion is not initially going to be meant to be a violent, kind of like takeover of mankind. That's not what it was supposed to be. Now, it would only become that if we, obviously turned on them and tried to just wipe them, off the face of the earth once they arrived. Now, I know these are crazy big concepts, but I go back to the same thing with NOFACE. I hear Dr. Greer say, oh, well, they're making these and they're rolling them off a conveyor belt like sausages. And I go, that sounds fucking insane. But so does the existence of NOFACE. And I know for a fact that NOFACE exists. NOFACE is real. And it's not human. NOFACE is real. So if that's real, does it sound that much more crazy to say our government figured out how to make these things? Yeah, they both sound crazy. But again, I know one's possible, so how do I just write the other one off? Now we have footage of, a massive, massive ship in our atmosphere being filmed from the International Space Station. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think. Is there a real alien invasion coming? And is that what we're looking at? Are we looking at staging? Are we just looking at the beginnings of what this is going to be? Or are we looking at our own craft? And maybe they're staging, like I said, the false flag. Is that what's going on here? Because I tell you what really freaks me out. Obviously, NASA saw this. NASA knows what this is. Why aren't they talking about it? And NASA has nothing to say? Nothing? I don't know, guys. I don't know, but I think whatever is going to happen, we're going to know very soon. Because that's where this has all gone. Because the trail of information and the evidence of stories, all of it, it's led us to here right now. Where either these things appear or this story goes away forever and a lot of people become a laughingstock. Guys, let me know what you think below. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please do so. Please take the time right now to just click that subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think, and I will be back tomorrow with more. All the best.